General nominees were The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. That's dumb. Persona 5 was a huge game, but it didn't have the same general audience appeal that Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and Horizon all had. Joker from Persona 5 was announced as a DLC character for Smash Bros. Ultimate. Yeah, that means Persona 5 is coming to Switch. It hasn't been announced yet, but yeah, that means Persona 5 is coming to Switch. This reminds me of like Persona or something. Everything generally starts with the reveal. Sure, you get some teases from developers, confirmation the game is in development, or stupid dumb stupid leaks, but the grand reveal, the first time they formally unveil their product, is the main starting point. So whenever I even glance at something anime related, I think to myself, what would 6-year-old Scott say? Now, Smash Bros. Ultimate received an update this month. Finally, we got our first paid DLC character, Joker from Persona 5. He looks real fucking weird next to Mario. But after we got the mindfuck of Joker from Persona 5 as the first DLC character, I was kind of expecting something a little wilder than Dragon Quest. This obviously didn't work out, as only a few PS3 games featured this style. They did go back to the second revision. God, my year is saved. There are some studios that almost always delay their games. If a release date seems too good to be true, it is. Listen, guys. You can have opinions. Why don't you play They're not my style. Why don't you? Number 2. This is why video games are such a popular medium to tell stories through. You are a character. The story is happening to you. Your friends in the game start to feel real if it's done right. You gotta wean yourself on a Mario RPG before you jump into Persona 5. Holy f***, this game is so stylish and cool. Listen to the music. The setting is so neat. I think I've become an RPG guy. And I fucking hate myself! Catherine Full Body got announced by Atlus after everybody asked them to bring over Persona 5. Before we get to that, Persona 5 finally released on Nintendo Switch. You can tell by the inclusion of the word Strikers. Persona 5 Strikers is a sequel to Persona 5 that is not a turn-based RPG, rather a warrior-style action RPG. So only 3 months after Hyrule Warriors, we have another game similar to it, though Persona 5 Strikers does deviate quite a bit from the Warriors formula. Combat's similar, but this feels more like a Persona game than something like Age of Calamity feels like a Zelda one. It's a solid title, though. I do find it odd how Atlus thinks that people don't want their core RPGs on Switch. If there's an exclusivity contract between them and Sony, sure, I get it. But it seems less and less likely there is. For some reason, they think regular Persona 5 wouldn't do well on Switch, but its sequel that's a hack and slash RPG, oh yeah, that'll do well. You can think that way, doesn't mean I get it. Why not go in the exact opposite direction and talk about some dumb bullshit I know nothing about? The Persona series has been consistently tied to PlayStation consoles, but spin-off titles, those could be anywhere. Hide. I never got that. If anything, it made sense to make the core series multi-platform and then put the spin-offs on a limited number of consoles, because why would the fighting game spin-off sequel to Persona 4 on a console that's never gotten Persona 4 do better than Persona 4? Persona 4 Arena and Arena Ultimax came to Xbox 360. Persona 4 was a PlayStation exclusive for the longest time, and these were really the only Persona games on Xbox at the time. Persona 5 Strikers was a sequel to Persona 5 while being a spin-off hack and slash at the same time, and came to Nintendo Switch, but it came out without the original Persona 5 on the platform. Why put these spin-offs on systems but not the actual games? If you're confident enough these spin-offs will do well, what makes you think the games they're based off of that got critical acclaim across the board wouldn't? I guess Atlus at the time assumed 360 owners didn't want RPGs and just wanted fighting games, but it would have made more sense to me if they just fully committed to the series being PlayStation exclusive, rather than sprinkling spin-offs on other systems. We're gonna give people Persona Q2. It's filled with fan service and is on a platform that never got any of the games it references. You know, I'm open to playing a bad game. I haven't beaten all these, so my standards haven't been finalized yet. But the big news here, at the very end, was the announcement of Persona 3 Portable, 4 Golden, and 5 Royal finally coming to Nintendo Switch. Yawn! I mean, this is awesome, but imagine if we were like 2 years younger. I feel this would have been more impactful if done earlier, because at this point, I mean, prior this month, these exact Persona games were already announced to be coming to Xbox, and we had already gotten so much Persona on Nintendo Switch outside of the main series that it all led to this moment of us finally getting them feeling a little underwhelming. We waited so long, and I think it was a little too long. You know, with Bayonetta being M-rated, gets me in the mood to hear the word more. Let's continue the trend with what could have been. Yep, Persona 5 Royal launched this month in terrific shape. This port is phenomenal. It's fully featured and runs great. Any differences or downgrades are negligible and or expected, but don't impact the experience. This is Persona 5 Royal on Nintendo Switch. Something I wish I could have said years ago. Too little, too late, man. I mean, just imagine if this released in 2019, 2020. That would have hit the spot. But by October of 2022, I mean, it's just harder to be as enthusiastic about these Switch ports, man. Okay, to be fair, Persona 5 was originally on PlayStation 3, so it's not like it wouldn't run on Switch. We've been teased by constant Persona spin-offs, Joker's in Smash Brothers, his costumes in Tokyo Mirage Sessions. They put the damn cat in Monkey Ball. Like, come on, he's not even a ball! There's always been a justified expectation for this game on the platform, whereas Nier Automata, Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden both launched on the same day, and they are exactly what you'd expect. They're nothing crazy, just the original PSP and Vita games on modern consoles. Oh, 3 Portable save file system is ripped directly from the PSP interface. But I can't possibly understate how big of a deal it is we finally got these on consoles. 3 Portable especially, since this was its first re-release ever. And now with these highly demanded titles finally on the console, it's time to move on to a new game to demand for on Nintendo Switch. But here we are, Persona 5 Royal, Dragon Quest XI's, Baldur's Gate 3. These games are all damn rich in content and depth. Persona 5, 40 hours in, you're still getting tutorials. The Persona 5 games, Persona 5 Strikers, which weirdly came first, which this is the sequel to Persona 5, which is a warrior-style game. But, you know, hey, it follows up the story of Persona 5. And Persona 5 Royal, which is cool that we got the Royal version of Persona 5 rather than the vanilla version. Yeah, really crazy to get Persona 5 after so much time, but like I've been saying, I feel like it came out a little too late. But hey, I have not played this one just yet. Definitely interested to do so. I played a little bit of Persona 5, but definitely interested to actually really dive into it on the Nintendo Switch. At least, you know, try for a couple hours.
My other pickup that I know you have probably a lot to say about, I have Persona Q2.
Persona Q2?
I know you're the biggest
Persona
was like, fan.
Well, that was like one of the true last third-party 3DS games.
I bought this, and it's still sealed because I knew for a fact it was going to be worth something someday, and it's becoming that. This was a weird release, because this is a similar one where they just pumped it out. They didn't really localize it. It has English text. They didn't do voice acting, though.
Is it still Japanese voices?
Japanese voices, yeah. But like Q1, they did English voices, but because this was such a late release, they didn't get the voice acting roll back. They just did all the text, and that's it.
Yeah, but they still did the limited edition, and they still did a box release and all that stuff. It's just like...
It's very weird.
Yeah, that was when Atlas is still always weird, but Atlas was still, like, being Atlas back then.
Why not? Joker?
Now
we're in the DLC territory?
I know you like him.
No, I'm with you.
But it's such a crazy, cool inclusion. But... in the grand scheme of things, it does feel very, like, fan servicey, because it's just, like, you know, the newest Persona game. It feels a very, like, you know, like, oh, man, we want to get buddy-buddy with Atlas. Let's throw Joker in there.
I think a lot of it was, like, you know, Sakurai borrowed so much of the UI from Persona 5, so it felt like we kind of had to. Just in good sportsmanship.
It's a crazy cool conclusion. It's awesome that he's there, but it's also, it's one of the more out of place feeling inclusions. I don't know. Like, is that, what do you say to that statement? Does that elicit a reaction?
Not really, because Joker to me didn't really feel like possible for Smash, because at the time he felt too new. And, you know, we kind of ran into the same thing, like Sakurai stated that, you know, we got the ARMS Assist Trophy and the Rex Mii costume because, like, ARMS and Xenoblade 2 came out, like, after the roster was finalized, and I'm sure Joker kind of fell into that same thing, which, surprise, we got Xenoblade 2 and ARMS DLC anyways. But I feel like, I don't know, it just felt really new, because I guess when Ultimate was released in, like, 2018, like, when Persona came out, like, 2016 in the West, I think?
2016 in Japan and 2017 in the West.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that's pretty recent for a 2018 release.
It does feel a little fan servicey. It feels a little marketing-y. Even though Persona 5 was one of the best games of, you know, that, not only those years, but also that the entire generation.
A deserved spot, don't get me wrong, but, like, definitely one of its time, because by the time this game comes out, like, they could have added. I mean, they could have added Persona 4 Pro Tag back then. They're going to add Persona 6 Pro Tag whenever that time comes around.
I think it makes sense to cut him.